Hello and welcome to the Screen Corner podcast. I'm your host, Zippo. Join me as we navigate the complex landscape of the screen industry in South Africa. A career in film encompasses an extensive value chain, and understanding its breadth is crucial in finding your place within it. So today, I want to focus specifically on the South African film industry, an ecosystem I know a little bit about. Let's look at 5 distinct career paths. Each one is shaped by where you might want to be in a decade. And I'm doing this because finding my way in this career has been quite a mission. It's definitely an industry for those that have a lot of backbone and for those who really know themselves. So in order for you to be able to fully engage with the recommendations that I'm going to make today, you have to be very honest with yourself about who you are, what your passions are, and where you might want to end up in your career.
Audio Jungle.
Okay, so we're going to be looking at these 5 paths, and I'm hoping that you can find one that maybe resonates with you. The first one is the corporate track. If your ambition lies in major media organizations, you have to begin with some foundational training. And beyond the training at a university or a college, you also have to look into learnerships and internships, because those are nice spaces where you can get guidance from professionals that work in that space that can be able to shed light into what career paths actually exist in the space that you want to be in. Production companies in South Africa regularly offer such positions, with multi-choices talent factory programs standing as a notable example. So a lot of people in our industry in South Africa, maybe not a lot of people, but like some people, they went through the journey of this talent factory program, and I've only heard good things about it. So it's something that maybe you might want to check out if you are interested in this corporate track. It does also work for those who want to work on set and stuff, but I think it's a great space to give you a pool of industry experts and organizations where you can network and find your path. Organizations like KZN Tourism and Film Authority also frequently facilitate placements across South African production houses. I think that there might be something like that's in the pipeline. That's happening for young people from KZN. I think that the NFEF does the same thing. So look out for those opportunities, because those opportunities allow you, without looking too hard, to just be in an internship program, get the network, collaborate, and know where you want to go when you finish the program. So that's what I would say you must try and do if you want to follow the corporate track. The corporate track is obviously for people that want to, work for SABC, work for MultiChoice, work for distributors, film distributors. You have a dream of seeing yourself being the acquisition person, and you want to contribute in sales and distribution, or you want to be a commissioning editor. So that's more in the corporate lane. I will say that KZN Tourism and Film Authority, as well as the NFEF, also offer internship programs within the organizations. So if you want to maybe be an intern in a film fund, just for you to be able to maybe learn about the industry from that lens, and perhaps be able to contribute, not necessarily in making content, but in a different way. Obviously, this is an industry that needs a lot of administration, coordination, project management. Those are skills that are also very valuable if you're looking at, at a corporate sort of job, full-time job. So that's definitely something to look into. Our producer, Mache, she did exactly that. She used to be an intern and a trainee at the KZN Tourism and Film Authority, and hopefully in a future episode, she can be able to share about her experience there. And then the second path is the independent filmmaker's journey. I think this one is it's quite difficult. Not that the others are not difficult, but this one, yeah. And this is where that honesty also plays a role, because you really have to know what you're good in, what you're interested in, and don't lie to yourself. Don't say you want to be a director because it looks glamorous to be a director. You have to actually speak to a director or speak to a producer and find out what this career path entails. And then you have to think about doing that thing every single day, and if you actually enjoy it. But if you do have the inclination to be an independent filmmaker, then you'll be glad to know that South Africa offers substantial support for indie filmmakers through organizations like the NFEF, which is our national funding body, along with regional entities like KZN Tourism and Film Authority, ECPEC in the Eastern Cape. I think there are other film commissions that are being opened in the other provinces in South Africa. So maybe just a brief summary of what funders normally fund for independent filmmakers. I think this is valuable information for you to know, because it's very important that if you want to be an independent filmmaker, you actually have a project to show which exhibits your work and your skill. So for short films, and I recommend that you start with a short film. Yeah, you have to start with a short film. The funding typically ranges from 350K to 600K. And I would say that if you are thinking of applying for a short and maybe you get accepted for it, you have to take that project very seriously. You have to spend a lot of money in making it look good, because that's the only way you can actually have a conversation with anybody about, future prospects. Not only must you invest in making it look good, but actually invest in story development, which is like it's not the most important part. I don't want to make other parts of the value chain feel unimportant, but it is quite important, because it's like the initial, it's the initiation phase, and there's no actor or director or producer that can save a bad script. So you have to make sure that you invest in that, but invest in the look and feel of the film as well, especially if you want to be a director. You want to show your style. You want to show that you know what you're doing, and the kind of work that you actually want to do, even from a theme, subject matter perspective. You want to give people a taste of your skill. So you're doing this because you want this film to premiere at nice festivals, and you want to be able to have conversations through this film, and hopefully you secure meetings and you secure deals with financiers for your next project, or even distribution for your short. So yeah, something to think about if you want to be an independent filmmaker. And then the third path is the commercial pathway. This is a route that suits those who see opportunity in the industry's infrastructure rather than direct content creation. I was actually speaking to a colleague or acquaintance of mine about someone that he used to work for, who used to be a producer, and he no longer really produces films now. He's interested in film servicing, and he's doing a lot of work and has a lot of companies that are around the space of film servicing. So those are the kinds of people we're talking about. Maybe you started in the industry, but now you're interested in the commercial pathway, right? Or you're starting out, you're young, but you know that you want to be in the commercial pathway. So you really have to understand the industry, understand where the industry is at, because for you care more about the commercial benefits of being in the industry. And that's things like studios, with the surge in podcast production. Maybe you look at studio facilities, equipment rental, and writing services. Those are nice services to offer in, I guess, direct content creation. But there's other things that you can even look at, like distribution. Film distribution presents another vital segment, particularly for those versed in international trade, those interested in international business, because one of the I guess underlooked parts of our value chain is sales and distribution, and it's something that would actually transform our industry. So if you feel like you've got like skill, or you want to be qualified in that, and you want to be in the creative industry, maybe this is something for you to look at. And at least the knowledge and access to information about it is growing. So maybe you can even start it from a younger age, because when I studied media, communication and culture, and did a bit of film and stuff, there was no information about the distribution part of things. I think even people that went to film school when I went to school, they never really focused so much on that. Most of us in this industry have focused a lot on creativity and project management. That element of business is lacking, but it's got huge potential, because look at Hollywood, look at Nollywood, look at Bollywood. And that speaks to, I think, the power and the strength of distribution platforms, and I suppose strategy in that. So if you are that person, strategic person who wants to contribute in the creative industries, maybe that's something for you to look at. So it's really about providing a service to the film industry and getting your money through that. You're not making films, you're not casting people, you're not writing anything. You are dealing with people who have done that and who now need to make this thing happen, or who now need to sell this thing, All right. And then the fourth career path would be the knowledge dissemination track. This is for, I would say, both academically inclined people and those not so academically inclined. Let me explain. Some people are going to be the professors, they're going to be the doctors, and they're going to do research, they're going to contribute to knowledge production and sharing, right? And people of that standard are obviously the academically inclined people that are going to be thinking about the film industry and producing papers around it and think tanks and, other amazing things like that. So if you are interested in that aspect of things, then obviously, the path is university. You find a university that you like, that also aligns with what you're trying to do, because that's very important. I think it's important for you in this aspect to know what kind of body of work do you want to produce and what are you interested to research in the film industry. And maybe also think about it from a policy perspective. What would you like to contribute to? How would you like to see the policy shift to be able to accommodate the growth of the film industry? And then maybe make your decision based on that. Look at the university that has produced great work around that, and just see, and also, I think I would say also look beyond South Africa. Don't limit yourself. There's a lot of perks to being set in South Africa, but also having a global perspective, and having a global career in general as an academic is quite an important thing. And then for those who are not so academically inclined, but who want to, who want to train others, who want to bring information to others, then I would say consider professional training. You obtain accreditation as a facilitator or a moderator, and you can establish a training business within the film industry. I don't know if it has to be within the film industry specifically, but yes, establish a business or an organization, whatever form of organization that you deem will work for you. Many experienced professionals with a passion for development have successfully followed this path, supported by regular funding calls from industry bodies. So I guess that's like really it. You are passionate about, I think this is more a human development thing more than anything, but your human development is set in the film industry. And so then it takes the form of you training people to be able to work in the film industry for whatever the reason. The recent NFEF training provider call, which came out in, I think the last one was in January 2024, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can find it online. That's where I found it. And it really like breaks down what the call is normally looking for. And we're looking at NFEF because it usually informs how other funders also draft their calls and how they think of their calls. So important things to realize here in this NFEF call is that they seek established accredited providers. So you have to be accredited. They want you to address critical skills gap. So you have to do your assessment in terms of what are the critical skills gap in the film industry, with a preference for 51% Black owned. So your company needs to be 51% Black owned, possessing proven training experience and proper accreditation. That one is, it's a bit difficult because I guess some will make the argument that, okay, I do need to start somewhere. So if I don't have the experience, what do I do? And my advice to you, if you want to be a training service provider, is that you must actually do training courses that you can then be able to say, I've done this. They must be structured. They may have to be free because you're trying to boost your profile of having trained. But with technology, they can actually be virtual, which will save you a lot of costs. I'm currently doing a similar thing, which I'm calling the Story Circle, and it's a 5-week course that I'm offering for free. And I think I'll offer 2 or 3 free courses just for me to be able to build a portfolio of having trained in a structured manner, and I can then be able to really look into applying for funding and saying I've got experience in doing this. So think about that. And then they say budget carefully, stay within 350k cap, or have solid additional funding sources if exceeding that. So you look at NFVF gives you 350,000. If your course costs more than that, then you have to have a, what do they call it, a finance plan that includes other funders and how much they're going to put in it. I would say if you're starting out here, just cap your budget at 350k. See what you can do with 350k, because you're also building the experience. And then obviously with government, there's compliance documents, so you have to make sure that you have all of those. But without getting into too much detail about the training, service provider calls and stuff, what I'm trying to say is, if you are interested in knowledge dissemination and you are not necessarily a person who is academically inclined, then this is something to look into. And actually, what I would advise is that even if you are doing a training course like this, it's actually worthwhile to identify people in the academic space that you can work with. Because I find that in a lot of our initiatives in the film industry, it's either practice or academia. We don't really come together as much as we should between training, between practice people and academically inclined people. Okay. And then the last path is commissioned work, which includes television shows that we see on SABC MultiChoice and other broadcasters, ad agency work, but also like any ad hoc work that you get from a client that wants you to do something and they're going to pay you for it within your skill set, of course. This type of work is great if you are a communication, marketing, media person, or if you have that kind of a person in your team. This work is usually great because it is usually content that is for a specific brief, and you need someone who is able to do client relation. You can also be that person, by the way, but if you feel like you're not that person, you're more of a creative person, then maybe it's worthwhile to get someone who can do client relations for you. Generally, I think that that's an important person to invest in, because the better your client relations are, the more work you can get, I think. So having that person in your team helps in the briefing element of commissioned work. You really have to understand the brief, and you have to deliver the brief as per the client's desires. The best part about commissioned work, of course, is that it pays. Everyone in the creative industry will say, you know what? I prefer commissioned work when it comes to payments, because sometimes they pay even before you complete the work. Like they give you a deposit and you work, and then they give you the rest, or they give you the full amount before. It's just a space that has no hassles in terms of money. However, what creative people do not usually like about it is the heavy-handedness of most clients. And you find that sometimes there's clashes between the creative person and the client. And that's why I think if this is what you want to do, If you look at ads and you look at TV shows and you're like, I would like to do something like that. I would like to position black people's narratives on BBC. That's really what you want to do. Then you really have to think about what I'm saying in terms of client relation person. If you yourself don't have those skills, because that's how clients and service providers end up having clashes, But also, I think this has to be something that you really like, because in this space you're always straddling your creative agency and what the client wants. I do have little experience in commissions, and maybe in a future episode I'll share more about it, but I can say it can be difficult, but I do enjoy commissioned work. And also I think commissioned work is good for you even if it's not all that you want to do. Even if you're an indie filmmaker, your dream and your vision is going to take a while if you're an indie filmmaker. So in the meantime, you need to be doing something that you actually enjoy, that's going to bring an income, so that you can fund your dream, so that you don't rely on the NFVF, on the KZN Tourism and Film Authority all the time, so that maybe you can fund the film that you want to make and make it the way that you want to make it. And also the reality is that funders can only fund so many people. So what if you don't make the cut, and then now you have to wait another year, another 2 years before you make the cut? So commissioned work in that aspect is not a bad idea, because you're doing it so that you can pay the bills and so that you can save a little bit into the fund for your dreams, right? So that was the fifth path, which is the last one. And I think understanding these pathways and choosing the one that aligns with your strengths is so important. And it could determine your success in the industry. And I do want to say that success is not only in the things that we can measure, right? It's not only in the limited scope of your technical abilities and what you do. It really is also in what kind of a leader you're going to become as you grow in your career. And I can tell you right now, if you choose the wrong path, you are on the journey to becoming a toxic leader, to becoming a hinder to the growth of your industry. You are on a journey to be miserable. And if you're miserable in your career path, then we can't really call that success, even if on the outside it looks successful. So that's why I urge you to not pick a title that sounds glamorous or that seems glamorous or that's going to get people to know you and respect you. Respect yourself by choosing the thing that most aligns with who you are. I hope this episode has been helpful, and we have come to the end of the show, and I'll see you again on the next one. Okay, funny story. After I completed this episode, I had to go back to Marche and tell her that I felt like I forgot to add one career path. But obviously, I had said that I'm going to outline the 5 career paths that are there for people who want to break into the screen industry. So I am going to add this career path that I'm going to speak about now as a bonus. And it's a no-brainer, being a digital content creator. How could I forget that? How could I not speak about that? It does also really speak to even my bias, and being a person who's so trained and qualified in the traditional media But yes, digital creation is a career path that you can also follow. And it is really more of an entrepreneurial one. And what I like about it is that it's a cross between being talent and being an entrepreneur, because obviously, hopefully you own your own space, and you should, because it's easy to in the digital space, whether it's your podcast or your YouTube channel, or your TikTok account, but there are people who are doing amazing things in that space. And if you're not finding the kind of content that you like, the digital space allows you to create that at a very low cost. People start by literally holding their phones on their faces and speaking to camera. And the nice thing about being online is that you're not waiting for someone to give you the green light and say they like you, so therefore you must go to the people, to the public. You are giving yourself permission to do that. And if you're consistent, and if you're consistent and you take it seriously, and you know that this could be your job, right? Then you find your tribe, and you build from that. And this is another one that I would really recommend, that maybe you start out by having a day job, and then you do it on the side until it pays you enough and you see that it's actually worth you leaving your day job for. And in some instances, I'm seeing that digital creators are growing and expanding massively. They've got teams that they work with. So they're not the ones that are writing all of the content and doing all of the research and all of that. They are essentially running businesses. They become business people. They hire people that come from traditional broadcast. So this is a career path that I don't want to have this conversation without adding it. We have to wake up to it. I tell my friends who are feeling like they're not getting work, they're not getting the jobs, people that I feel like are so insightful, and I'm like, just open your TikTok account and say the things that you feel are important for the craft and for people to know. Do it on social media and you'll find your tribe, and the people that are looking for somebody like you are going to find you and hopefully book you, and you'll make your money. Use the digital space as an opportunity for you to be able to market yourself and your talents. So that is our bonus career path, and it would be a crime for me to not offer that career path to you.